everyone, this is my September new releases video where I talk about the upcoming or already released September book releases that I am most anticipating. I have roughly 25 books that I'd like to talk about today. Obviously there are many more books coming out in September. September is a really busy release month, but I just wanted to talk about the ones that I am most looking forward to kind of give you an idea of my reading tastes, I guess, and also this way you can tell me which books you're most anticipating in the comments below, whether they're from my list or books that I haven't mentioned at all. So we're starting off on the 2nd of September. I am aware that this date has already passed. I'm just a little late getting this video out. So first of all, we have Amity by Nathan Harris. This is the author of The Sweetness of Water, which I haven't read, but I do have it on my shelf, and I'm fairly sure I had it as a NetGalley book as well, and it's one that I would really like to read. So this is a story about siblings, a brother and a sister. It's set in 1866, just after the Civil War in the US, and the brother and sister were previously enslaved and now they are free, or they are supposed to be. The sister is called June and she is taken away to Mexico by the previous slave owner, the man who enslaved her, and so the brother Coleman wants to go looking for his sister and for them to be reunited and to actually be free as they were promised. Before I read this one, I do want to read The Sweetness of Water because I like to read books in publication order, but I am really excited to read this one and I already have it on my Kobo. Next we have House of Hearts. This one is YA Gothic Dark Academia. This is by the author of Together We Rot, which you may have heard of, and it's about a main character who is determined to solve her best friend's murder. And so in order to do that, she has to infiltrate a secret society at her friend's elite boarding school. I really enjoy boarding school stories, so even though YA isn't really my go-to genre anymore, that's what's kind of drawing me to this one, as well as the fact that it's gothic. It sounds like it's a really good one to read this season. The summary also mentions a vengeful ghost, which I think sounds quite exciting. I don't know if that's going to be the best friend or if that's someone else. The First Witch of Boston. You guys know that I like my witchy books, and this one is based on a true story about Margaret Jones, who was the first woman to ever be found guilty of witchcraft in, I think, the US, but maybe just the state of Massachusetts. It's a historical book. It's set in 1646, and Margaret and her husband arrive from England, and Margaret is a healer, and back in those days, if you wronged someone and you were a healer, you were regarded as very suspicious, and it was a really easy way to accuse someone of witchcraft. This story is also mentioned, or this historical case, I guess, in a book that I've been reading and I'm finishing off hopefully in the next few weeks. It's called Witches. I'll put the cover here because I don't have the book with me or at hand right now, I don't think. I'm just looking around at the piles of books. That is a non-fiction book and it mentions this case in there. And so I'm really interested to see how the author handles it and if it's a respectful kind of retelling of the story. I think this one sounds really good. I'm strongly considering reading it next month in October. Janice Hallett is also releasing a new book this September. I already have my hands on this one as well on my Kobo because I just couldn't resist. So this one is called The Killer Question, and this is about two people who run an isolated rural pub in the UK, and there is a weekly pub quiz, and I think after the pub quiz a body is found, and so it all links together. I'm not going to read the rest of the synopsis because I just know that I will be reading this book. I don't want it to give anything away because thriller synopses can't be trusted. I really like Janice Hallett's writing for the most part, but a lot of the time I find her books to be a bit too chunky, a bit too bloated, and so I'm really hoping I enjoy this one. I really loved The Appeal because that one was really snarky and overly dramatic, and it was set in a small town, and it sounds like this one's also similar. It's set in a small community surrounding this pub basically, so I'm hoping I'm going to really enjoy this one. To the Moon and Back. This is about a young woman who is determined to become the first Cherokee astronaut. I believe this is literary fiction rather than sci-fi. It says here that Steph Harper, the main character, is on the run. When she was 6, her mother Hannah fled an abusive husband with Steph and her younger sister Kayla in tow to Cherokee Nation, where she hoped they might finally belong. In response, Steph set her sights as far away from Oklahoma as she could get, vowing that she would let nothing get in her way of pursuing the rigorous physical and academic training she knows that she will need to be accepted by NASA and ultimately go to the moon. I believe this one is a debut book. I really love supporting debut authors. I like that this book is following Steph's entire life as far as I can tell, or maybe up until the point that she becomes an astronaut, presumably. I'm really looking forward to reading this one and following Steph's journey. Sisters in the Wind. This is by the author of The Firekeeper's Daughter and another book that I can't remember the name of, but I haven't read it yet, so I probably should do that. Oh, it's called Warrior Girl Unearthed, it says on the screen. This is another YA mystery book by her. In this one, the main character's father died 5 years ago, and so I believe that meant that the main character became orphaned and she had to be fostered by a man called Mr. Jameson after becoming a ward of the state. It says here that Lucy doesn't know anything about her past, and she does find out that she is Ojibwe. Is that how you pronounce that? I apologise if not. And she also has a whole family that she didn't know about. So this one sounds really interesting to me. I like the idea of the main character getting to know an extended family that she previously didn't know existed, and also discovering her heritage. I'm not sure where the mystery part comes in exactly. It says that Lucy is being followed and secrets threaten to take away the future she has always dreamed of, so I don't know where the mystery comes in, but I do want to read this book. Erin A. Craig is also bringing out another book called A Land So Wide. This one is historical horror, presumably also a bit gothic, because I hear that this author's books always are. So this is set in a town called Mistaken. It's a really rich town, people do really well there, but it is also surrounded by lots of dangerous wildlife, including some monsters called the Bright-Eyes. Because of these monsters, the village or the town is surrounded by ward stones, and that keeps the monsters out, but it also keeps people in. So once you enter the town, you are stuck there. And I imagine it's about a main character who wants to escape the town because she feels trapped. So I'm looking forward to reading this one eventually. I do want to read this author's other books first, but this is Erin A. Craig's adult debut, so maybe I could venture away from the publication order thing that I try to follow normally and read this one. Buckeye, this is another one that I already have on my Kobo. I'm really looking forward to reading it. This one is another small town book. It's historical fiction and it follows two families who are intertwined across generations. It spans from World War II up to the late 20th century, so I imagine about 50-60 years, and I love the sound of it. I love small town generational stuff, as you know, hopefully. So I'm looking forward to reading this one. Breathe In, Bleed Out. This is a adult horror book. It says here that it's a blood-soaked thriller set at a remote healing retreat. I stumbled over that. Healing retreat is what I was trying to say. I don't think I really want to read the synopsis for this one. If that's okay with you guys, I would just like to go into this not knowing anything. I'm definitely going to get this one as soon as I can. This will be a really good one to read in October. And then finally for the 2nd of September, we have a republication of a series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. So this is, it used to be called The Fixer, but it's called The Ruling Class now. And this is a YA thriller book. So I imagine this has been republished after the success of the Inheritance Games and the Natural series. I don't know what this book is about, to be honest. I marked it as one to read years ago in like 2015, and I've stayed away from all spoilers. So I'm just gonna not read the synopsis and stay completely clueless. I do want to read this because I do like her writing. I kind of fell off the Inheritance Games bandwagon. It just went on a bit too long for me. I feel like it could have been maybe a duology or something, and now it's like 6-7 books. But I really loved the Natural series, so I'm looking forward to getting to this one eventually. Next up, we have some books that released on the 9th of September. The first one is Play Nice by Rachel Harrison. This is a haunted house horror book. I am obviously really excited to read this one. I love reading about haunted or possessed houses. Read The September House if you haven't already, by the way. I'd really like to read this one. I would like to do maybe a reading vlog about haunted houses, reading books about haunted houses in the next few weeks, so I'm gonna put this one on the list if I do manage to do that. This is about a main character called Cleo, who is a lifestyle influencer as far as I can tell, and she grew up in a haunted house. Her mother moved her and her siblings there after her mother got divorced, and her mother always said that the house was possessed by a demon, but Cleo thought her mother might just be a bit dramatic or maybe not quite mentally stable. And then her mother dies and Cleo goes back to the house because she has now inherited it. We start to learn more about Cleo's and her sister's childhood trauma and more about the possession of the house. It sounds a little bit like The Haunting of Hill House in that sense, and therefore I'm really looking forward to it. The Maiden and Her Monster. I did receive this one from Goldsborough, as in I bought it, I didn't receive it for free. This is a debut fantasy book. It's queer, there's a bit of horror in there as well. The tagline says, "The forest eats the girls who wander out after dark." It's about a healer's daughter called Malka who lives in a village in the woods. The woods are supposedly cursed. It says here that her mother is going to be executed, possibly because she's a healer. We just spoke about that in relation to another book. People didn't like female healers back in the day. And so in an attempt to save her mother's life, Malka goes into the woods to try and fight and bring back the monsters. I haven't read this one yet, but I would really like to. You Weren't Meant to Be Human. This is an adult horror book as well. I think this is the author's debut adult book, but he's also written YA maybe in the past. It says here that it's about identity, survival and transformation amidst an alien invasion in rural West Virginia. This one sounds really gross. It talks about masses of worms and flies and stuff, and so I'm not sure I really want to read it, but it's also set in Appalachia, and that's one of my favourite settings for horror and thriller books in particular. So I put it on the list. I think I would like to read it, but I'm going to wait for some friends to read it first and then I'll see what I think. Coffin Moon. This one is about vampires. It's a horror book. It's set in the 70s. It says here that the main character is back home after the war in Vietnam, and he's struggling to stay sober, and his marriage is struggling, his family is falling apart, and he's just not having a good time of it. And then a vampire walks into a bar. His bar, in fact. I'm not going to read the rest of the synopsis because I've just skimmed it and it mentions murdering other people and other things that go on, so I don't want to be spoiled. I would like to try this one. I, again, would really like to do a vlog, if I can, on vampire horror books, and this one would definitely make the list if I do manage to do that. I just don't know how much time I have or how ambitious I'm being right now. I just get excited about video ideas. Next up, on the 16th of September, we have The Vanishing Place. This is a thriller book. It's set in New Zealand, in the bush, and it's about a murder in the forest and I guess people trying to solve the murder. I don't know. I don't want to read the synopsis because, again, don't want to be spoiled, but I really love the idea of reading another thriller book set in New Zealand. I've read one before and I didn't really love it. To be honest, the atmosphere and the setting, it didn't really do much for me because it was set, I think, in the city, probably in Auckland or Wellington. I can't remember which, I'm just assuming. But this one in particular talks about nature and the forest and things, and so I think that's going to be more atmospheric and more my kind of thing. For a thriller book, I don't really like thrillers set in cities all that much. Am I just really picky? Probably. Next up we have another debut, and that is We Met Like This. It's by Casey West, who is an established, very well established YA author, but this is her adult debut. I'm looking forward to it. It's an adult rom-com. It's about a woman who is a hopeless romantic and she falls for the one man that she never expected. I think she's having a bad time, she gets fired from her job, you know, the usual tropes, and then she meets a guy, or she reconnects with the guy that she knew before. And the synopsis specifically mentions golden retriever energy, so if you're into that kind of thing, I'm not sure I am, but if you are, then check this one out. No Rest for the Wicked. This is another debut book. September is full of them, apparently. I just love this cover. Can we all just appreciate the cats on the cover? I think it's brilliant. So this is a horror, thriller, mystery kind of book. The tagline says, in one Halloween-obsessed Midwestern town, everyone's on red alert after a local politician goes missing. Little do they know it's only the beginning. Not going to read the rest. It's set in Wisconsin. I imagine it's going to be very atmospheric. It's about a small town, a Halloween-obsessed small town at that. So I definitely want to read this one. I can't wait to get my hands on it. Hecate. This one is a retelling about the Greek goddess. If you don't know, she was the goddess of witchcraft and necromancy and magic. As I've said before, I really like books about witches, and this is, or she was one of the first witches in mythology and fiction. So I'm very interested to read this one. The tagline does say that it's poetry, so I'm a bit worried that it's told completely in verse, and I don't always get along with that, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try my best because maybe I would really enjoy it. It's also the first book in a series called Goddesses of the Underworld, so I'm intrigued about that. I want to know what else this author is going to do with that. Finally, for the 16th of September, we have If Looks Could Kill. This one is a retelling of Medusa, or it features Medusa, who is hunting down Jack the Ripper in 1888. I'm not really sure what I think about this or how to feel about this, but it's kind of intriguing to me, so we'll see. Then we have a few books coming out on the 23rd of September. This first one is called Body of Water. It's another horror book. You can see a theme here. The publishers went wild for thriller and horror books this season, or maybe that's just what I'm most interested in right now. So this is meant to be perfect for fans of The Mist and also The Last of Us. It's following a father and a daughter who find themselves trapped in a diner, and they are trapped by a living body of water. And that's all I need to know. I think it sounds really interesting and very supernatural, so I am intrigued. Moonsick. This is a YA horror book featuring werewolves. It says here that it's a debut as well, which is fantastic. It's about a girl trying to survive in a world where becoming a werewolf is a contagious disease. I don't really feel like, again, I need to read the synopsis of this one. It says that it's for fans of Wes Craven and The Purge, and also there's some comedy in there, so if you're a fan of Grady Hendrix, for example, you might really enjoy this one. A Killer Wedding. This one is a murder mystery, another debut book as well. So this sounds like it's kind of rich people drama, and it's about family drama as well. The synopsis talks about toxic family dynamics. I don't know if I want to read this one immediately, just because I just had my big wedding in July, but I would be open to it if other people like it. It says here that Gloria is found dead on the very first morning of the wedding weekend, and her entire family wants to keep her death a secret and for the wedding to march on. I think Gloria is like the founder of this billionaire family, or like the grandmother, and then it talks about unmasking secrets and breaking through the glamour and stuff. So this does sound like something that I would enjoy, just maybe not right now. Taurus season, this one is a dark romance thriller kind of thing. It's set in a place called Camp Carnage, which is a seaside town filled with lots of quirky shops and also a high body count in terms of tourists. It says here that a true crime investigator comes to Cape Carnage, looking for a long lost serial killer, so it's a bit of an investigation kind of thing, and the main character gets involved with that. I think she's a local and she is trying to protect her town. What Fury Brings, this is by Trisha Levenseller, who's a very prolific author. This is her adult debut. It's a romantasy about a general in an army who needs to capture and train a husband in order to take her place as queen. It says here that there's a shortage of men in the kingdom of Amara, and so now the women of Amara must obtain their husbands by kidnapping them from other kingdoms. I'm not sure how I feel about this, because if it was the other way around, that would be very kind of Ice Planet Barbarians and that kind of vibe. Hopefully the author can pull this off. I'm intrigued by it, but I don't know if I'll pick it up right away. The next one is one that everyone is so hyped about. It's called Alchemized, and this, I believe, is a debut by a fanfic writer, and I've not read any of their fanfic. Apparently it's amazing. It has a massive fan base, and that's why this book is getting so much hype. This is a dark fantasy book. It's about a woman who has missing memories, and she gets involved, or is trying to survive, in a world of necromancy and alchemy. And then there's a romance. I don't know. I'm not really sure how I feel about this one. It says it's 1,000 pages on Goodreads. I don't know if it actually is. Someone tell me in the comments if you know. I just don't know if I want to read it, because I feel like all of the hype right now is from the Hermione fan base, and I don't know if people are being sort of objective in their ratings, so we will see. I'm gonna wait for some more reviews to come out. I might read it myself. I don't know if I want to read 1,000 pages. Salt Crop, this is another sci-fi book by this author. This is a siblings kind of story. It's about two sisters who have to travel across the ocean now that Earth has been sort of consumed by the sea. They're travelling across the ocean to find their missing sister, third sister. It says here that Nora went missing when she was looking for a cure to stop the crops from failing, and they've not heard from her in 10 years, so they want to go and find out what she was up to. I like the sound of this one. I really like Cli-Fi, so I am planning on getting it. And then lastly, we just have a handful of books that are coming out on the 30th of September. The first one is called Old Money. This one is a thriller book. It's set around the 4th of July, and a teenager dies at a country club, and then 20 years later her cousin returns to the hometown where she died and starts asking questions. Small town drama, small community mystery. I really love that kind of thing. As I've been saying all along, is this becoming repetitive? Perhaps. I'm really looking forward to reading this one. It says here that it's reminiscent of Sleepy Hollow, so I don't know if there's going to be a bit of horror in there as well, maybe. Witch of the Wolves. This is a romantasy book, and again, I really like stories about witches, but this one is a little bit different because she also finds out that she is the daughter of an alpha werewolf, which sounds like so much fun. It sounds like she comes from a line of powerful witches and powerful werewolves, and they collide, or her parents collided, and that's how she came to be. I love the sound of this. I believe it's also historical. It mentions something about being Victorian, but doesn't mention any dates, so I think it's historical. Otherwise, I don't know why it's talking about the Victorian era. Next we have Holly by Adeline Grace. This is Belladonna 3.5, and it's a holiday novella. I don't know if I'll be reading this one. I've not read Wisteria in this series yet, which is book number 3, and I don't love short stories. It does sound like this is more of a mystery than a romance, and I really liked the mystery in Belladonna, the first book in the series, so maybe I'll pick this one up nearer to Christmas, but I'm not in any rush to. And then finally we have The Hunger We Pass Down. This is a horror thriller book which is said to be like Us meets The School for Good Mothers. It's an intergenerational saga, which I love. The synopsis says that a single mother's doppelganger forces her to confront the legacy of violence that has shaped every woman in their family. And I just love the sound of it, so I'm looking forward to reading this at some point. And those are all the books that I am most anticipating that are coming out or have already released in September. Let me know if any of them are on your list, or if there's anything that I missed out that you are looking forward to. Thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye!